Okay, it's been a while since I've been under Xeon. I covered most of the groups. Oh boy, we got a lot of Trojan Horse Pursuit ahead of us though. We got it for Char. We have to do it for Dozle to unlock it for Garma. Got Ramba done. God, is there even a point to doing Gaia and Makuve? No, I was wondering why this thing was like flying across the screens, because I'm using the analog stick instead of the D-pad. It's a lot more controllable with the D-pad. Okay, well, I guess we'll run Dozle. Oh, so I could, like, be completely anachronistic and bust out the Big Zom on Earth well ahead of when it's supposed to actually be produced. But my opportunities to enjoy one of my favorite one-year war Xeon mobile suits are few and far between, so we're just gonna bust out the goof.
You will not defeat me!
I'm still not sure if the mobile suits in their transform state in this game use the existing model, or, hang on. Or if they, because I know that they articulate in a way that makes the transformation look good, but I think they actually swap the in-game model for a version that's already transformed. I can't say that with any certainty, but I've noticed like a split-second and I was hoping to land on top of the mesa. Oh hey, it's that scene from the 8th Mobile Suit Team. Ow! Okay, we don't want to be standing here. Some room to maneuver. Ooh. Okay, you're gonna get the heat rod. Oh, that's not good. That's really not good. We don't have to fight him, we just have to not die for the next minute and 10 seconds. Alright, yeah, there we go. And... Hi-yah! Because I was thinking, do I want to... Because I've done a bunch of Titans recently, and a bunch of the footage I've uploaded is Titans. Or not uploaded, published. Because a bunch of the old footage from like a year... And you need to understand, this was a year ago. A bunch of that stuff was Titans footage. So it's like, okay, so do I go Aoud, or do I Xeon it up? And I just decided to Xeon it up, because... I don't know. I just had an inkling. Things are running, like, a little strange. I don't know what's changed. Hiya! He has taken no damage. Then again, we're not supposed to be killing him this time, we're just supposed to not die. Which we accomplished! Besides, outside the Big Zom, I feel like Dozle, because he's definitely big on technology, because he was all excited about the Big Zom, this super weapon in his mind. And I've seen the mass production version of the Big Zom. It's a piece of shit. It's just... Because it's basically like the top of the Big Zam, only smaller, with this giant ball underneath it, which is where the cannon is, because they had to shrink the whole thing down. Okay, so we need to do big damage here. I can manage that with the goof. I'm not running sure, because I can manage that with the goof. I hope. We're gonna go assault for this one, because we need to do that damage. But yeah, he'd be on the front end of technology. Of course, that means at some point they're probably going to give me a Dom, and that technically by that logic I should be using the Dom, because that became the new hotness, which I don't care for. Oh, okay, well the gun tank's a lot easier to deal with than the gun cannon. I don't want to hang around too much in front like this because the white base is going to be trying to peg me with its main guns, and it can hit me at this angle. Thanks, Garma. I mean, I know that killing one's siblings is kind of a zombie pastime, but... Actually, forget siblings. Killing one's family is kind of a zombie pastime. That whole thing with Gear and killing his father. Way to steal my kill there. Punish him. Yep, we can damage each other with friendly fire in assault mode, but we can attack through each other's attacks, so we can still crank that damage. Oh, yep, there's the fratricide happening again. Trying to get a free hit in. Oh, looks like we're not the only one that are being team killers right now. I don't know if White Base was going for a Sphinx look or a Battlestar Galactica look, because it could go either way. I mean, the two, like, hangar pods are kind of Battlestar Galactica, but it doesn't have the alligator head, though. But then again, its main bridge is up on a big stalk up top and not in the front. It's weird.
Let's go home now.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Okay, well, no, not in the Taklamakan Desert. We're using the goof for that, because this is where Rambaral used it, so I'm not... I'll use the Dom eventually. I'll get there. Ugh. Look, there's nothing wrong with the Dom. It's just that, lore-wise, the goof could have become like Zeon's new mainstay until the Gelgoog showed up, and the Dom usurped it. And it didn't usurp it necessarily because it was better, it usurped it because it had a gimmick that worked. Like, the Dom is a great mobile suit for your average schmuck pilot, but the goof definitely played a lot better when it was in the hands of an ace. And don't give me that, like, oh, well, the Black Tri-Stars. Yeah, the Black Tri-Stars had one... They had a gimmick of their own, lest we forget, the whole jet stream attack. And it's important to note that there's a historical context for, like, overusing one cheap tactic. Because there was a American, I think it was a Hellcat pilot in World War II, who was facing a Japanese fighter pilot. And he thought that this guy must be, like, a noob. I mean, obviously that term didn't exist back then. He's like, this has got to be a rookie pilot. Because he's trying to outclimb the Hellcat. Now, here's why he thought that, because the Hellcat's performance was such that he could maintain a climb much longer than, I think it was probably a Japanese Zero. But at the time, he was actually up against one of Japan's aces, who was responsible for killing several North American pilots. The reason why he was, like, making this colossal error was because prior to the Hellcat's release, there was another aircraft. Oh, I forget whether it was, like... It had Cat in the name. I don't remember what else it was, because there was the Hellcat, and then its predecessor was something else Cat, like the Sea Cat or something. And that aircraft had a weaker engine, so this Japanese pilot... And it's important to remember the ace status in actual thing is any pilot who's made 5 kills is an ace. 5 confirmed kills, because it's important to note that if you don't see them splash down, not a confirmed kill. But any pilot who's made 5 kills is considered an ace. Recover, yeah, recover. Yeah, because the Gao or Gaw or whatever. So if you make 5 kills, you're an ace, and you're a multiple ace if you make multiples of 5 kills. So it's not necessarily a statement of skill. You might just get insanely lucky to splash down 10, 15 enemies, and you're an ace. And so this pilot had developed this tactic that worked. He would get into a climbing fight with American fighters. His lightweight Zero would outperform them on the climb. And they would eventually run out of, like, engine power and plummet back. He would be above them. And then he'd just dive on them and game over. So he was just using a tactic that for him worked over and over and over again. He'd killed a number of pilots this way. He'd made ace and like double ace or whatever. And the problem was the Hellcat better performed. It could match the Zero and exceed it in the climb. So he was just sort of business as usual, and then the American pilot is coming about with him at the top of the climb and guns him down and figures, this guy's got to be stupid to try and outclimb a Hellcat. Well, I mean, maybe he didn't know it was a Hellcat, or maybe he just didn't know the Hellcat was capable of that maneuver. Which, again, shows a lack of adaptation and a lack of observation, one or the other, that he basically just tried doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's the thing, you gotta figure that the Black Tri-Stars were this formidable Xeon unit because they, defeated a bunch of... Well, actually, did they even defeat, like, Fetty mobile suits? Because there weren't a whole lot of them at that time, right? Because we're talking pre-Jaburo. The gym... Had that even been rolled out? Okay, so that's a detail I don't have offhand, but the point is that they had this attack, right? The Jetstream attack, and it would have defeated Armoro had it not been for Matilda pulling up something of a kamikaze to save his bacon at the cost of hers. But again, it was a gimmick. It was a rehearsed routine to exploit an enemy weakness or thereabouts. So, are they actually good pilots, or did they just come up with a really cheap way of pulling things off, and they just rinse and repeated it until they'd, earned a reputation for that? I mean, let's be fair, we all know the Char is probably, a better straight-up pilot than Armoro. But at the same time, a lot of his early reputation was, again, done by repeating a tactic that just worked. Because he would get in real tight with the enemy capital ships, which got him sort of within the range of their guns' effective firing envelope. And then, according to the lore, he would ride the explosion of the capital ship he was destroying in order to accelerate himself to the next ship, because his Zaku was not 3 times faster than a normal Zaku. But riding that shockwave with this bright explosion at your back to obscure you, it all kind of works. And so he basically, get close to the ship, blow it up, ride the shockwave out, and use the flash for cover, do it again. Before you know it, he has repeated this cheap tactic to destroy warship after warship. And the fact that that works, I mean, again, in war, which Gundam sought to create a more realistic depiction of war rather than something sporting, in war, you don't want a fair fight. You want to sneak up behind your enemy and stab them in the heart. And... oh boy, I think the Dom here would be a bad idea because I've got a bazooka and a huge heat sword. I might end up friendly firing Garma, unless he's in... what is it, the Adzam? The big flying Hershey Kiss looking thing? So I think we're going to go Goofier, just in the interest of playing the metagame a little bit. Because any time where I have to defend my partner is a problem. Anytime. Yeah. So what's Garma riding, and where is he even? Oh wait, is he the tank thing? Is he just sitting up there and I have to keep these guys away? Oh, and there's also the big tray. I might want to deal with that as soon as I can. Do not park directly in front of the main guns. Ow! Whoa! Oh yeah, he's in the Adzam. So he's kind of fine. Oh god, why they have to have beam rifles? Oh! That was a nexus of pain right there that I just narrowly avoided. My god, the machine gun on this sucks, but what do you expect? It's being fired out of the ghost's fingers. Okay, that's... whoa! I think that was from a hero machine, too. Oh no, just another gym with a beam rifle. Okay, no, switch targets, please. Thank you. Got land battleships. Oh, and I caught that one with my ass. Fantastic. Oh, you can stop doing that now. can stop doing that now. Yeah, land battleships never became a thing because one of the benefits of the ocean is that it's relatively featureless. You know, you've got waves and you've got weather conditions, but it's flat, essentially. That's how hovercrafts and chronoplanes, whatever, wing and ground effect, that's what makes that work. As soon as you take something like that on land, you've got nothing but problems. Now, that was something interesting when they did Deserts of Karak, because your medium weight, like, smaller class of units look a bit Humvee-like, but in terms of scale, they are actually closer to those, like, giant open-cast mining dumper trucks than an actual Humvee, and the larger ones are the size of a building. But all of this makes sense because Karak has a massive dune sea, which you don't have oceans of water, you have oceans of sand. But again, sand gets blown around by the wind and creates, you know, large but relatively smooth surface contours. So again, you have a fairly smooth environment. There's also the fact that, like an actual ocean, there's not a whole lot of terrain in which to place infrastructure. It's all just flat, sand-swept environment. So you need to bring with you whatever you're going to need to get from A to B. It's not like you can stop at a gas station in the ocean. Therefore, too, you can't just stop somewhere in the middle of the desert of Karak and get more guns or more armor. So you need big ships that can make that distance. Otherwise, what's the point? So at this point, I could just grind some gems out for battle points. I could do that, but Garma's at half health, so let's not allow our eyes to become bigger than our stomach here. Oh. Aha! He should have stayed down. Where was I? Yeah, Deserts of Karak, land battleships, but before that, cheap tactics that actually worked in battle. Yes, they have. And they are repeated substantially. Oh boy, the GOG is our Amphi mobile suit of choice. I suppose I'll use it on both of these maps, because inside Jaburo it's going to be a nightmare. The GOG is pretty chunky. However, here there's actually enough water to make it work. I really like the design of the High GOG from War in the Pocket. That was actually a cool take. It was a little Zagok inspired, I think. Because, like, the body was the head, whereas the actual GOG kind of has a distinct head. Well, it has a head. I'm not sure about distinct. That's what I liked about Amphi mobile suit designs, because I'm a BattleTech fanboy, and one of the things I like about that is that mechs can take on any shape imaginable. You've got reverse knees, regular knees, you know, aircraft fuselage type bodies, boxy designs, humanoid design. It's all over the place. But I enjoy the variety, whereas, and I don't want to, like, be calling out Japan on this, but a lot of Japanese mecha work involve machines that are uniform in their body plan form, and frequently humanoid. And that's one of the reasons why I like the amphibious mobile suits, sort of regardless of where they're featured, because they take the standard humanoid shape that we've come to expect from a mobile suit and go nuts with it. I mean, this thing's got giant claw paw hands and this huge rotund body, and then you've got things like the Zoc and the Yacht Guy, which just get weirder. And I like that. I like that it's not just a human shape stomping around. You got something that's bizarre in the interest of being bizarre. I was hoping that would connect. It did not. Yeah, Zagok, you want to help me out here? I mean, that's another weird thing about giant... Oh, yeah, that was a point I wanted to make. It's gonna have to wait for my next installment, because I've already burned through half of this, so... Yeah. I want to talk about, like, Mecha IRL, like, why that isn't a thing. Although, funnily enough, this is a spoilers moment, it actually is a thing. There's only one, but it actually exists. And I'm not talking about, like, that Karatas thing that's got wheels, because that's not a robot. It's not a walking robot. It's got wheels. Or that other one that was, like, made in North America that's got, it shuffles, because it has wheels and brakes, but no drive system. So what it does is it triggers the brakes on one wheel, and then advances with the other leg, letting the wheels allow it to slide along the ground, and then it just toggles out between the two legs. That is not walking. I feel like making the same complaint I made against Code Geass, because it's like, you've got robots with legs, but I do not recall one moment in Code Geass where a Nightmare Frame took a step. They got land spinners, they're wheeling everywhere, then why does it even have legs? If your robots are gonna drive everywhere, why give it legs? I mean, Votoms did that too, but at least they had the good sense that it wheels around just fine on paved surfaces. Whenever there's a Votoms in, like, the desert or rough rocky terrain, they can't use the spinner, because it's this teeny little Omni wheel that only works in environments intended to accept wheels. My last video, I did put a link to Obsolete. I didn't even know when I posted that they actually had basically the equivalent of, like, a Mobile Suit Variations page where they had a bunch of stuff that wasn't actually featured in the series, but was designed anyway, because why in the hell not? Iframes. I mean, yeah, sure, it stops you from just cheaply juggling an enemy, but still, it's like waiting for them to become vulnerable to damage again. I also found out that the Thunderbolt Akai is considered a variant, which, I mean, of course, most of the stuff in Thunderbolt is considered a variant. In fact, it's so distinct from what we've come to expect from the Universal Century that a lot of people question whether it's technically canon, which is interesting. But the Akai in Thunderbolt is almost half the size of a regular one. Like, it's actually getting into hardcore real robot territory in terms of how small it is. It's very ad hoc, too, because it's a Zaku machine gun in the firepower type versions. The armor that we see in the mobility versions is literally derived from other mobile suits. I think the Mobility Type A actually has a GOG head as its shield, and the other one's a shield from a Zaku variant. I don't know, I think that's a nice touch. Because it highlights the fact, of course, that Zeon forces operating on Earth at the time were very much on the back leg, because there was no support from the homeland, because they'd retreated out to Axis. And it was basically just the terrestrial Zeon forces keeping their heads down until they were needed again. Which is also what we got in the attack on, I want to say, Torrington in Gundam Unicorn. And the Tri-Stars, not to be confused... I think it was the Tri-Stars, not to be confused with the Black Tri-Stars, the crew of Jesta pilots on the Rock Halum, they made the comment like, these guys gotta be crazy, they're attacking us with museum antiques. And the team leader is like, and that's exactly why you should be careful, because they are crazy, which makes them unpredictable. And one of them nearly gets shot out of the sky, and his boss is not like, are you okay? No, he's just like, I told you to be careful! I mean, my logic, fundamentally, is it doesn't matter how old the machine is, as long as it does its job. Sure, it might not be as efficient as a modern design, but does it still shoot stuff? Does it still cause things to explode? And I mean, some things are virtually timeless in their design. Consider the A-10 Thunderbolt II, which is more commonly known as the Warthog. That thing is scheduled for 50 years of service. 50 years of service for an aircraft is several lifetimes by aircraft standards. Why? Because it was engineered specifically for a role, and it does that role so well that we have not had a fundamental change in our technology to render it obsolete. Because that's the thing, maybe when we have, like, fusion-powered drives, or we need aerospace craft, that will render something like that obsolete, but we still use jets, we still use guns, and we still use guided rockets, and the Thunderbolt 2 can use all of the above to great effect. But that's the issue, it's highly specialized. Its air-to-air combat capabilities are lacking. They were intended as a secondary function, just so that it wouldn't be helpless without a fighter escort. And it's in the air-to-air domain where it has suffered the most the progress of time, because it's more... the focal point of its specialization for close ground air support, it was designed with that in mind so much throughout that it is still the best at that job. But you take it outside that job, and it's not great. I mean, the Raptor was designed to be an air superiority fighter, and yet it found itself... do I really want to Big Zom this? I honestly don't. Because, first, I got a partner-destroyed failure condition. If I fire the main beam at the wrong time, Garma's just going to get vaporized. Oh, you know, it would be canon, but in the interest of my sanity, we're going to use a Gelgoog. This is an alternate timeline. Maybe Dozle had the foresight to not use the Big Zam, because as intimidating as it looked, it was not actually that fantastic. It's a huge target. Oh, but we have eye field barriers. It blocks beam projectiles. At the time, most mobile suits weren't using beams, though. They were using rockets or guns. Now, of course, sure, it's crazy armored, and the only thing that could really do serious damage was a beam attack, hence the eye field barrier. Wait a minute. Oh, well, then... yeah, there was no point in me using the Big Zam. I guess Garma's piloting it. It works for me. The Big Zam is here, and I didn't have to get stuck in that thing, because mobile armor in this game is interesting to deal with. No, if you know players who are being extra cheap if they just constantly use the Psycho Gundam Mark II and constantly keep it in its mobile armor state where it's completely protected from beam attacks. That's basically the equivalent of using Destroy Gundam in Alliance vs. ZAF 2. Because you can just spam the spinning dash attack, and... oh, and it's so cheap. Because the AI won't spam it. Obviously, because the AI isn't programmed to do it, but players will just spam that. And the thing is completely protected against beams. It can cover half an arena in one spin attack, which means it's impossible to avoid it. The width of the thing, you just can't dodge it. It's really bad. You do not get to play with other people if you even touch the Destroy Gundam. I am forced to really question that. I understand that they were trying to combine the Psycho Gundam and the Big Zom, but the transformation in and of itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It goes from being a bipedal robot, ground-based, to being a bipedal ground-based robot. I mean, sure, you could question the Unicorn Gundam's transformation, because it goes from being a humanoid robot to being a slightly taller humanoid robot with a bunch of glowing stuff under the armor. But it makes sense in the context of the fictional technology that was the full Psycho frame. Destroy Gundam going from its Destroy mode to its, Psycho Gundam mode, whatever, didn't... like, where's the advantage? What changes? It still has access to the same weapons, effectively. It can't use its chest cannons in Destroy mode, but but it has huge back cannons that take their place. And of course, it's the same thing when you flip it around. It can still use the arm. Its transformation is just meaningless. It does nothing. The only trade-off is that in the destroy mode, it has frontal positron barrier, whatever, whereas in its mobile suit mode, it only has that on its arms, but that raises even more questions. So one mode is less defensible than the other, so why would you ever transform? So, perhaps because they were ripping off so many mobile suits for Seed Destiny, they decided that, well, we can't just do Big Zam again, because it's been done, so we'll make a combination of the Big Zam and the Psycho Gundam. Yes, which both have been done. You think combining the two makes it more novel? It's two things that you've already done. Why do I still not have... Is it because he died? Is that it? Or do I have to unlock it in Char's route? I don't know. It's weird. I might have to replay that just for the sake of... Because it's not unlocking for some reason. I don't get it. It's just Dozle missing.
I'm launching.
Again, I'm not using the Big Zom because you're more likely to kill your allies than your enemies, to tell you the truth, unless you're being very careful. But if you're being that careful, you're not actually helping in the fight all that much. You really aren't. Yeah, that other mission will probably be an off-screen bit. I don't... did he survive that mission? I don't know, it's been a long time ago since I watched and or played that, so I'm not actually certain if when I played it the Big Zom survived. I imagine it would have. So why is it Dozle missing? I don't know. I'll try Char's route, see if that, I don't know, fixes whatever in the hell happened there. Because it's just being weird. I remember there being kind of a bug where if you played that route before having played Dozle's route, it would cause a problem where you'd have to replay it after playing Dozle's route and keeping him alive for it to unlock, which is a bit weird. That's definitely a glitch. That's not something that's supposed to happen. I felt like I should have used the block attack there. Yeah, especially using the Big Zam with Kai here in the gun cannon, because he's got shell weapons, which can damage me, I field barrier be damned. Which is another point I make for players who decide to be cheap and like, oh, this thing is immune to beams, I'll use that. And it's like, well, fine, I'll just bring this thing that has an actual rocket launcher, so I'm not the least bit perturbed by that. And I get the Zeta Gundam, and I get it with the Hyper Mega Launcher, and they're always like, ha ha, his big gun is useless against my beam barrier. You realize the sub-weapon for that particular armament configuration is a wrist-mounted missile launcher, right? It's not really powerful, but it'll do the job. Besides which, as I pointed out, the eye field barrier actually has a weak point, at least in this game, which could perhaps be referential to how the Big Zam was critically damaged in the series, with Slegger flying right up its ass. If you shoot the Big Zam in its ass thruster, it manages to get past the barrier and still damages it. Which, obviously, I discovered initially just being kooky and like, oh, I'm gonna shoot it in the ass. And it worked! Crotch is always the vulnerable area. Doesn't matter even if it's a giant saucer chicken. Giant saucer chicken. Yes, okay, but will this unlock his route in Garma, game? Or am I going to have to do that over again? Because you're having a slight problem. Actually, in Dozle's route, there weren't any other choices. Well, no, because it branched with Garma, and okay, fine, sure. Whole alternate plotline there. We get it. Yeah, he's still missing. Okay. Ah, there we have joined Dozle. That is a bug. That is a legit bug. Alright, well, if you're watching this, I have no idea what you've seen before this played, because I had to squeeze these 2-3 missions in wherever I had a video that was running a bit short. Or very long, I don't know. We're in territory where future Nex is gonna have to do some editing. Again.
Garma Unit 1. I don't want to be laughed at for my promotion because of my father's influence.
I suppose a brief point I can make is the peculiarity of the Zabi children. And I've read this somewhere, but basically, generally, the Zabi children are all kind of unattractive. They ugly for the most part. Garma is not. Conversely, the Zabi children are usually gifted in fighting or tactics or strategy. They all have their area of speciality. Girin is good at playing the crowd. Cassilia is a master strategist. Dozle has balls for days. Garma has none of this. He's not a particularly skilled tactician. He's not a particularly skilled pilot, but he looks good. That's the sort of ironic thing they make, is that Garma is a hopeless in Warcraft, unlike his siblings, but he was the pretty boy of the group. Fun little anecdote how that broke down. Now, the Big Zam can technically operate in zero-G environments. We even see that in the series, but in this game, you can use it in space, as well as in a terrestrial or colonial setting. However, you are not allowed to use it in zero-G environments. I'm assuming because they just didn't bother programming a movement set in that environment. Ow. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Dozle. That would have exclusively hit me, Dozle. I mean, he demoted Char for letting Garma get killed. Little did he know that Garma basically had a lot more deliberate involvement in Garma's death, and yet here he is trying to kill Garma because the AI is being a bit stupid. Oh wow, you hit something. Oh, God damn it. Ooh! That would have given me... Ow. Oh, great. Yeah, because the Gundam has a tendency when it's here to interrupt its attempt to ascend out of the arena with a shot, and then it basically just gets stuck in that corner until its health drops to a point. Yeah, okay, now it's finally... it's leaving. That's a precaution. It could still turn around and shoot me. It wouldn't kill me, but it would suck.
All right, Garma Unit returning to base.
Yeah, it's just 2 missions, so this is going to get attached to some other video at some point, just to round things off.
All hands launching.
This should be the big turning point, though, that unlocks, like, all the fancy Axis stuff, because that's what we've been working towards this whole time. However, funnily enough, I still have the Black Tri-Stars routes to play. In addition to everything, I think there's also Makuve. I haven't done a lot of the sort of secondary characters. mean, the Space Pod Ball was supposed to be an improvised craft, a weaponized adaptation of a ship maintenance tug, effectively. But in terms of a practical craft for space combat, it's probably a bit more realistic and reasonable than an actual mobile suit. It's got full reaction control, full, translation control because of all the thrusters. I mean, it's no Star Fury. That's often a point of thing, like, what's better, the Colonial Viper or the Star Fury? And it's like, well, if you're going to go in atmosphere, the Viper makes a bit more sense. There's a reason it's configured the way it is, so that it can operate both in space and in the atmosphere. Although it's important to remember that in a nod to realism that the reimagined Battlestar Galactica kind of made, but at the same time, it's not as efficient as it could be in space. Like, Star Fury would fly circles, perhaps literally around a Colonial Viper. However, it can work in the atmosphere, but it's not really efficient there either, because the wings and so forth are not, nearly... it's a little dubious. Thing is, the Star Fury has an in-atmosphere version that works well, the Star Fury Thunderbolt. So I'm sorry, Battlestar Galactica fans, but the Star Fury would probably fly circles around your Viper. Now that Jim just needed to take a nap.
All right, Garma unit returning to base.
Well, let's see if the magic happens after this. There we go. So yes, this ending you only get once you've done all of them. Not all the Zeons, but it has to be like the whole Zabi line and Char. And then we get into the cool Axis alternate routes, because without this, there really is no Axis. Hamon's got like 5 missions and done. There's not even like an opportunity for an alt in her main path. You have to do all this stuff. And there we go. Axis reinforcements return early. Yeah, because really the only actual Grips conflict character in this is Hamon. So it's a 1-character path that has 3 missions total. And then you go back and run all this Zeon stuff, all of the Zeon stuff, and then you play them in the Grips conflict, and it's fine, it works, it's cool. But yeah, I don't know when you're watching this, because it's a short that's going to have to be bookended at the end of another video. So if I've said this already, you understand why. Thank you for watching. I hope I'll see you in the next one.